we have instructed the manager to gather a little more data before the next meeting, and that's all we did.
I've got a few things, and I don't know how lengthy this is going to be. So the ARF funding, the America Relief Fund funding, we have to have a plan into them by the 1st of September. And so far we've used $250,000 for premium pay for county employees for the COVID-19 pandemic. We did receive a little north of 2.7 million. They've given a lot of different rules and regulations on that money. One of them is it can be used for broadband, it can be used for sewer and water, and that's what I need some kind of guidance going forth. On the broadband, we've just applied to a grant for or getting ready to, I think in the next few days, for around 20 million. And we identified Boston West as a partner for that, for fiber to the home. We can utilize some of that ARF funding as a match for that. The second is we've got the Elah Sewer District, which we've been trying to find funding for, to put a lift station between Hot Creek and Whittier. Been talking to the McGill and Associates, who has done a lot of projects for us over the years, and they've done the feasibility study for that. Been looking at that. Also been talking the possibility of partnering with EBCI on this Coopers Creek housing development. Also, the Kadua has bought Elah Campground, which is right adjacent to East Elementary, and maybe utilizing some of those resources to help us get across the river to where we can make that a viable system. But all of this will require money. The cost of putting phase 1 and phase 2 of the Elah Sewer District in place is around $3.2 million. Of course, the 1.7 is just the lift station, so that would be between Hot Creek and Whittier, and these are projections. We would have enough money to do that. We'd also have enough money to possibly get across the river with another lift station. After that, we'd be relying upon partnerships with EBCI and Kadua to try to get the rest of it. So, we can use it that way. Other processes, we are looking at doing a sewer and water feasibility study for the western part of the county, and this is more of a creating our own plants. It's not necessarily the pipe. So we would want to create a water system and a sewer system somewhere in the western part of the county. McGill and Associates are putting together a grant application. There's actually a grant application that is due end of September, and that will pay for a feasibility study to let us, with an educated eye, look at that. They'll do a feasibility study if whatever's needed in the area, especially in the western part of the county. So there's what I'm saying is there's all kind of opportunity. We have to have everything encumbered by 2024, so we've got a little bit of time to get this money rolling. But what we need by September 1st is the way we're going to roll it. So if it's partially broadband, partially sewer and water, or if it's all sewer and water and we're just hoping on the other resources for broadband. That's basically what I need to know to get a report back to them on if we're going to keep it or if we're going to spend it on the projects. So be thinking about that, and we can talk about it at the work session, and y'all can kind of give me some guidance at that point. But we've got a lot of things in play that we could utilize that money for. Any questions?
How much did you say the total was?
total is 2.7 million, but we've spent a $250,000. I mean, yeah, $250,000, so it's down to 2.5.
Yeah.
And the grant that we put in for broadband, you know, we put some money in for a grant writer, but Dogwood Trust did come through with the grant funding, so they're paying for the grant writer. So that did not, we didn't have to use any of the county money for that. And we've been working very hard on that grant. It's put together nicely, I think, and the 17th is when they're going to turn that into the feds. So. Any other questions?
If we went half and half, would we have enough money to do anything? Or if we went with one single project, sewer, et cetera, or the other one, could we do both? Could we do one with all of the money that we would not be able to do if we split the money?
If I just labeled it, so if we just label it sewer and water, then that would kind of open up at least partially, I guess. It depends on how many partners we have. You know, if we have a couple partners up at the Ela area, there may be a possibility we could do the Jackson line. But then if you're looking at a feasibility study to put a water plant and a sewer plant in the west, along the Alarka Creek, well, then that's wholly a different thing there, so because you're creating your own plant. And so you may not need to put those lines in because you'd want to, all those lines would be running to your plant. You see what I'm saying? So it's, and I mean, we're talking years in the making. It's not something that.
It's going to happen next week. So.
No, and you're talking with plants and that sort of thing, you're talking multi-million projects.
It appears to me that because we have people who want to build in Swain County, and, you know, we're going with sewer or septic. I mean, because it appears to me, I mean, we've got an expert here, but it appears to me that if you put in septic, it's going to have to come out anyway and be met with a sewer system. So to start with that would be more feasible to me. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So these are I just need direction on how y'all want to, what you're thinking. If it's 90% toward sewer and water projects and 10% toward broadband, which probably be good. It'd be, so.
I think it'd be good to save a little bit in case we do have to match
Right.
with some of the grants. We'd hate to lose a few $1 million because we didn't have a couple $100,000 or something to
Exactly.
do, but
Makes perfect sense.
I don't know how you.
May I ask one more time what this money was for to begin with? Recovery from the pandemic, correct?
That's correct, yes.
But we're not using it for recovery from the pandemic, correct?
This is to build up infrastructure for future pandemics.
For future
That's-
pandemic.
According to the regulations, that's what they're saying, so. We also are gonna be applying for Golden Leaf funding for a sewer and water project. The other thing I need to talk to you about is all of the building projects that we've currently got on the books, which is the court building, and the new courthouse building, was put in this budget cycle. And I'm talking about bigger projects. This HVAC system that's in this building, those are the two main ones that we need, in my opinion, and my recommendation is to hold off on. And many different reasons, but the biggest one, we did an analysis, and normally we'd budget about $250 per square foot, and every contractor that we've asked about it, it's been closer to 500, and so it's way out of scale right now. And so I think it would be better just to wait till the end of this fiscal year and then maybe re-look at that just to see what the price per square foot is. The other thing with HVAC, you can't get the equipment right now. They're running a year behind, even if we order it today. And so you're going to get a year outdated equipment until they can get this thing back in the road. as far as the building industry, I think it'd be wise just to hold off on both of them at this point, so. And I'll just I was gonna let you know about one thing. In a couple of weeks, the WLOS will be doing a CARES Act funding investigative report. I did do an interview with them, so just if you see it, basically they want to pick out a small county and a large county that had a clear audit through the CARES Act or the NC Pro office, and basically they just asked me questions about it. It wasn't necessarily what we did with it; it was how we accounted for it. You know, being a small county. And that's it. That's all I got.
If you don't mind, give us an update on the pool.
Okay. We're still in a holding pattern as far as the pool because we can't find any lifeguards. And we've got the chlorinator system being put in place. One good thing is we don't have to go through the state, I don't think, with inspecting. Got to watch what I say. But with inspecting, because I think we've got a person that can inspect for us. So that'll be one less hurdle we have to jump over once we get the chlorinator in and it's operational. The hope is that we can at least open it for the weekends, at least 2 or 3 weeks, kind of a soft opening, make sure everything's working with the main project through October, kind of like we did last year, at least on the weekends. And then come springtime, we open up full. So that's
So
what
this-
the
this
game plan
soft-
is at this point.
The soft opening, we need all the commissioners up there ready to jump in.
There you go. There you go. And then the pavilion, it's been started. The skeletal part is done. They did have their workforce, they have 6 people working on it. 4 of them got COVID. So hopefully they'll be back full force on Monday because they've got equipment sitting up there being rented. So I hope they're back because the 21st is coming up and that's the fair. So, but it's what it is.
Okay. Questions? No questions? All right, moving on. Commissioner?
I don't have very much, Mr. Chairman. I've had to meet and sign some Foursquare paperwork since our last meeting, did some things like that. I attempted to attend the TDA meeting yesterday. I got here a little late, and they had a very short meeting, so by the time I sat down, I was probably there 5 minutes before the meeting was over. So I don't even know that I can claim I attended the meeting or not, but
You tried.
I think they started at 12, and I think it was over by 12:15, something, it was done. Chairman Wiggins wasn't there, and so they kind of moved along quickly, and I hesitate to put that in report, because I kind of feel bad about that I sat down, was there for 5 minutes, and got up and left, so, and the whole meeting was over, so. The other thing that, just of interest to maybe the other commissioners, you know, I tend to go to the Southwestern Economic Planning, and Sarah Thompson has resigned from that position. You may have seen that in the newspaper as well. Was that Dogwood Trust she went to? She went somewhere.
Dogwood Trust.
Dogwood Trust, yeah.
Yeah, she went to there, so I'm not sure how that, I'm not sure the next move, how that happens, or what happens next, who becomes director on that type of thing, and
They've got a job posting out, and I guess it's whoever fills out an application. And
I think we all know
Southwestern
her. She's been here and presented to us before and things like that. So there's gonna be a change of a director there. So that's about all the report I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have no report. All right, I'll give you one.
Okay.
If you want one, I'll give you one. I had a man ask me today, in fact, he's the welding instructor at the high school, who he need to contact for getting some scrap metal from the recycling place, if they can do that or not. I told him to come talk to you, Mr. King, and to see he said he would bring it back when he was done with it.
Well,
If
great.
he needed to.
Yeah, we'll try to help him out. See if we-
That'd be it.
Okay, good.
I don't have much, there's a broadband meeting Tuesday, but I probably won't be making it, but I will get the notes. They always send me the notes for it, the minutes and stuff. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I did have somebody come to me and ask about getting, and he said you could say his name, it was Roger Burnett that used to work out there. He was getting the bicycles, like the walkers, and fixing them up and giving them to people, and the bicycles and fixing them to get the kids. He wanted to know if there was any way, if he could even get a recycler's license and get any of that stuff before it's scrapped, because he said most of the time, people, when they throw that away, most of the bicycles need very little repair, and he sometimes give them to kids at Christmas and different things, and he said he'd like to, some of that stuff is usable, that we're paying to send it out, you know, to move it. Wanted to know if there's any way. He said he'd be glad to see what, he needed a recycler's license or whatever. He wanted to know if there was any way he could get in. I said I'd bring it up. I know there's a lot of issues with liability, all sorts of things when you start letting somebody go through the
Yeah.
metal bin out there.
Yeah, I'll read some research.
Okay,
So,
that's all I have.
Okay. And one of the things that I will lift up for you is your daughter's getting married next week.
Oh, yeah, I won't be here next meeting. We're leaving out next Wednesday, heading to Wyoming, so we'll be back about the 1st of September.
So if he comes in wearing cowboy boots and a hat, you'll know why. Going out west.
Isn't that what-
Good, congratulations on your daughter, by the way.
JCPC meeting this morning, went well. Do want to mention that, Cindy can correct me on this, Hawthorne Heights has been licensed or re-licensed as a facility for children, kids. I don't know when it was, but I know they mentioned that this morning, so we have that back in the county.
Okay, good, great. And we were working on a lease, L-E-A-S-E, lease, trying to get the lease lowered or the purchase of the house at a reasonable rate. Do you know where that is?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay,
I'll talk about that. That's it.
okay, thank you. Couple of things that just wanted to mention. One is that the fair that you mentioned a moment ago, they're having an opening ceremony at 10 o'clock on August the 21st, and they would like the Board of Commissioners, individual commissioners, if you can be there, to be there. And they're going to have a fantastic-looking opening ceremony, so 10 o'clock it begins. Try to be there, please, because they really would like us to be there. One of the things that, as most of you know by now, Commissioner Donnie Dixon passed away last Sunday. We have no policy in place of what we would do as a board if some past commissioner were to pass. And I'm lifting it up as to have us adopt a policy. And the reason I want a policy rather than each time someone is passing on us, the reason I want a policy is simply to for everybody to know and to expect the Board of Commissioners to honor one of their own when they pass. And so the other reason I want a policy is I do not want future boards to have to develop their own or come up with their own, that it's just something that just moves on from here on. And what I was going to suggest was a certificate of appreciation sent to the family that says, we appreciate the blank number of years of service of this person on the Board of Commissioners. We don't care what else they've done. On the Board of Commissioners. And then to the family for allowing them and sharing them with the county and the Board of Commissioners. So that's what I would like to see us as a board do. And I'll entertain any questions if you have any. And if you don't have any, then I will make a motion, since it's my idea. I'll make a motion that we adopt this policy, that we honor any commissioner who has served Swain County. Politics out of it, everything else. It's just that they put in the service and the time to work for Swain County. So I make that motion, if I can get a second.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second on the floor. So are there any questions? Anybody have any questions? If not, then all of those who would go along with this and appreciate this from our body, from our board, please raise your right hand. Okay, and it's passed unanimously. And it seems like there was something else, but I'll think of it tomorrow morning about 3 o'clock. So send everybody a memo. Okay, we have done the closed session. Anything else? Anybody? Anything else?
We're gonna talk in the new business about the mask mandate,
Oh,
or,
yes, right.
that's what it was, yeah.
Okay. There was a request from the health board that we ask staff and people inside the buildings to wear a mask. Does that say it appropriately? Okay. Give me some feedback, guys.
I think that everybody who's wanted the vaccines had the opportunity to get one. And I think it should be optional. If they want to wear a mask, they can. If they don't, they don't.
Okay. Have you heard anything from staff about being concerned about people coming into their offices?
Not directly, no.
Okay.
I mean, there's been we've had a couple of scares over at DSS, with people coming back and, like employees that have gotten COVID. And so, we've just left it up to each individual department, kind of how they manage it.
Rather than us setting a policy, would you rather handle it from your office? Would that be easier on you and for you?
That's fine. I mean, I can, if you want me to. I would, as far as the public, and I can do the employees, but I would prefer y'all do, if you wanted to do public, everybody coming in from the public, that would be y'all's call. But
Okay, right.
I would feel comfortable doing employees, which I don't mind telling them if they're in their office by themselves or whatever, they can take their mask off. It's only when they're within 6 feet of somebody. Is that still 6 feet or 3 feet?
It's 6 feet.
Okay. So we can come up with a general direction on that,
Okay.
but from the,
So as a policy, public policy, do we want to suggest anyone coming into or do we want to say you will wear a mask? How do we want to handle that, guys?
I think it'd be a common courtesy to our employees to ask that people coming in should wear a mask. Because even though you're vaccinated, you're still susceptible to get this variant. And some people say, well, you're not going to get as sick, and that, well, some people do and some people don't. But I think that's protection for them.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Do you have an opinion on
I mean, I don't know if we should mandate people having to wear a mask. I mean, again, I think it's optional. Businesses are not mandating it, right now through the governor that I know of. on the buildings that's mandated is the ones that, what is it, the federal buildings maybe, or some state, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think we're almost past that point to where we will have to, people's going to have to use common sense. I think staying 6 foot away from somebody is probably greater than a mask anyway. So if we make people wear a mask, we want to go back to that 6 foot rule. I don't know if it's really enforceable sometimes. It's hard to enforce, and it causes a lot of confusion.
Okay.
Oh, man, I have so many mixed emotions about this thing. You know, at one point, we agreed that we just going to end up doing whatever the governor mandated, and so part of me wants you to just do that. Part of me wants to help and say, look, wear your mask, keep everybody safe. But I'm so frustrated in trying to get people to do things or anything like that, it's not even it's almost like I'm over it. I'm over, if you don't want the vaccine, don't get the blasted thing. If you don't want that mask, don't wear the blasted thing. I'm just kind of over it. But I'm over it in a frustrated way, and I don't know that that's a good way to be, because I'm over it with frustration. I suggest maybe we just stick with the governor's guidelines that we had agreed to do. We can revisit it at any time, I think. I don't know if I have a lot more to say about it at this point. I'm frustrated with the whole thing, really.
I think Danny had a good statement. Out of courtesy, we ask that you think of the staff if you're going into their office. Then that could be the 6 foot thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to ask that. And say, hey, listen, we would like for you to wear a mask, and we'd like for you to stay 6 foot away. You may put a sign at that, but I don't.
Well, and what I'm hearing, excuse me just a second, but what I'm hearing is that if you wear a mask, that's fine. If you don't wear a mask, stay 6 feet. I mean, it's pretty common courtesy to do that. But do we need to say that, I guess, is part of the question, or do we just need to let it go as it is? And now, remember, your health director has asked you to consider this, so consider it. And I hear you guys, and I'm probably more on your side than you know. I'm concerned that people coming into offices would not be wearing a mask. That concerns me. But, I mean, I can go into an office and not wear a mask and not even think about it. So I understand what you're saying. We're over it. Maybe not health-wise, but.
Let me clarify, Mr. Chairman, when I said over it, I'm not necessarily, I'm over the fight about
Right,
it,
yes,
is what
I
I'm trying
understand.
to say.
I understand.
I think everybody should, I mean, me personally, I think everybody should have gotten the vaccine. Me personally, I think everybody should be wearing the mask. That's me personally.
Right.
I'm through with the fight over it. It's, by this point in time, Mr. Parton said, by this point in time, if you wanted to get that shot, you'd have got the shot. And if you want, you know, everybody knows the risks they take. So I'm frustrated more than anything, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I actually thought that we would be over this summer. I thought school would be back to normal this summer, or excuse me, this fall when it starts back. But I thought everything would be kind of back to that. And this, we had a lot of people unvaccinated. We had the variant kind of show up. It kind of like seems like we're going back downhill again. And I'm frustrated about the whole thing. I think we should revisit it. I think maybe we should follow the governor's directions on that one, as he does the state buildings and so on. Maybe we will do the county buildings as well.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a stance that we not take action until it proves or is proven that we need to do that. and that we follow the governor's direction. And we can debate it at any time, at any point we want to. Does that sound? And I think we'll leave it there. I think you got a good point. Does anybody need to vote on it, or? I don't think so, but.
We're not making a move, or so, yeah.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that and just make it that we will revisit as necessary. Okay? Does that satisfy you? All right. Anything else? Thank you for reminding me of that too. Anything else, anybody? If not, I will entertain.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick, very quick thought.
Sure.
You spoke about like the fairground or the event center area up there where the framing's up, but people have been sick. I really want us to start incorporating some kind of language about timing on our contracts and our bids and things like that. It seems like that has messed us up, and I think we've been burned by that a time or two and some of that. I think that's really important. If we as a body of commissioners and board here can remember that, put some kind of time language in our contracts with our bidding processes, and trying to put maybe penalties in there if they don't get it done in time, and so on like that.
Okay.
It just seems like it's, you know, the pool situation's been kind of heartbreaking, the way that's worked out for us, and I'd like for us to, maybe under new business or just thoughts, or just throw that out there as a thought for the rest of the board to try to put that in there.
Well, I think it's a good thought, and if anyone thinks of it in the process, make sure we put those time frames in. Okay? All right, very good. Waiting for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you, gentlemen, very much. Got to learn to say